Today we're gonna try to revisit the case of ABS-CBN, which has become so curious and so controversial over the past few days since the non-renewal of its contract by Congress. And over the past, I think, 1 or 2 days, there's a lot of discussions and debate regarding this issue of ABS-CBN, and we've seen a few actors jumping into this political bandwagon in order to pin the blame on ABS-CBN in some actors and to defend President Duterte. And one of the most interesting issues or topics that came up is the issue of taxation, and we've seen the battle between pro Duterte accounting experts or non-accounting experts who are trying to show that they know a lot, about taxation when they don't, versus real accountants and accounting experts who were trying to make sure that the people are properly given correct information, because all of this disinformation, as we've seen, came up from the allies and supporters of President Duterte. So a lot of accounting experts, of accountants, CPA passers joined this debate in order to make sure that we are properly educated as to whether ABS-CBN violated some taxation rules. But the problem is that's not the issue. Okay, that's not the issue. That's part of the obfuscation. We call it poisoning the well. All right, this strategy is called poisoning the well by introducing a lot of irrelevant information or propaganda in order to confuse the people, in order to make the Duterte supporters or the DDS more angry by insinuating that, hey, ABS-CBN violated a lot of tax rules. It's guilty of tax evasion, and we've seen the case of Willie Ramasola, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name, who was, spreading a lot of false information about whether about ABS-CBN's guilt in terms of tax avoidance, etc. But then this guy, this DDS guy, who tried to play, the role of a CPA, immediately recanted his disinformation and tried to clarify that no, I'm not actually accusing ABS-CBN of being guilty of tax evasion or etc. But this guy and the other guys don't exactly know what they're talking about. They don't know anything about tax credit. And kudos to the real experts, the real CPA, people who tried to clear the matter. Okay, try to educate the people, try to make sure that these this DDS, fanatic brained DDS, uh, are uh, properly debated or properly rebutted, and that's something that we need to consider these days, because there's a lot of disinformation, there's a lot of fake news coming from, well, probably I'm gonna say both sides, but there are more fake and false information coming from the DTS side. So um, when I was like reading this back and forth tirade or conversation between the pro DDS so-called tax experts and the CPA experts who were trying to make sure that propaganda is taken into account, and that the people are not misinformed about this issue. I thought, well, is tax evasion part of the case against ABS-CBN? So I don't know, because a lot of people are like focusing their attention on the black propaganda against ABS-CBN. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not an ABS-CBN CBN fan. I'm not a viewer of ABS-CBN. In fact, like I said in my previous vlog, I I'm a critic, and I was a critic of ABS-CBN for too long because, you know, this is like chickens coming home to roost for ABS-CBN because it supported cronyism, it supported protectionism over the past decades. It benefited from the protectionist rules that we have in the Constitution, and so having a big government today that's trying to crack down on ABS-CBN for alleged whatever that is violation of franchise, etc., is it's something that it needs to think about, and GMA7 should support ABS-CBN, so it should forget about rivalry if it wants to have press freedom in the future, because it's not, Duterte is not simply targeting ABS-CBN, it's targeting the press, as a whole. It's not just the leaders or executives of this embattled network, but also Rappler, Inquirer. So JMA7, because I've seen some posts about the daughter of Felipe Gozon um, trying to join this bandwagon, um, and trying to defend the third day probably, and pin the blame on ABS-CBN is not a good thing to do. So with for example, a lot of DDS were like praising Annette Gozon Valdez, the daughter of the one of the owners, majority owners of JMA7, saying "Sana all," referring to ABS-CBN's tax avoidance strategy in order to minimize its tax payments to the government. So it's stupidity on your part, Ms. Annette Gozon, if you're trying to bash ABS-CBN just because of your rivalry with the network. This can happen to you as well. Should we have a different type of administration in the future, really? So don't be complacent. So this is not just about ABS-CBN, but about the whole press in this country. So like I said, I was thinking, when did the Solgen talk about tax evasion in his co-warranty filing against ABS-CBN 2 months ago? And I'm going to talk about some other issues as well, but let's just revisit as to why the heck the case of tax evasion came up. Uh, well, like I said, it came up because some DDS, probably they're affiliated with the government. They're trying to seek position in the government. Have come up to poison the well by claiming, ABS-CBN violated the its franchise contract because of tax evasion. But if we're gonna check as to whether ABS-CBN actually, or whether Jose Calida, Solicitor General Jose Calida, included tax evasion in his co-warranty filing with the Supreme Court, that's not the case. So ABS-CBN is the contract of ABS-CBN is not being renewed because of tax evasion, and the government, through Harry Roque, the spokesperson, and Martin Andanar, the trader of his own profession, Martin Andanar, said, no, we're not affiliated with the guy Willie Ramasola and the other guy Edwin Jamora, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have anything to do with the Facebook post circulating in social media claiming that ABS-CBN is guilty of tax evasion and tax charges. So they're trying to distance themselves from ABS-CBN, but propaganda will definitely work for the brain dead. All right, propaganda This is pure propaganda tactic, and Edwin Jamora and Ramasola were like bringing up the issue of Big Dipper, which is approved by PASA. What the hell are they talking about? So they're talking about conspiracy theories now, in order to discredit ABS-CBN. But one thing is for sure: tax evasion is not part of the reason why ABS-CBN is being shut down, and or its franchise is not being renewed, because there's no case there. There's no there. Like what FBI deep state said about the case of President Trump and the Russian collusion. So I'm revisiting because I was reading the back and forth rebuttals between these two camps just a few minutes ago, and was saying, why the heck do you have to answer or to respond to these morons trying to present something that is irrelevant to the issue? Like I said, poisoning the well is their tactic now, because it's so easy by bringing up controversies that don't have any bearing in reality and in legal in the realm of legal um, arena. uh, they won't win. They will never win. So that's the reason why I'm going to show you again, why the hell Soljan Jose Calida filed a co-warrant 2 case against ABS-CBN like 2 months ago. So what are the legal points really of Jose Calida's co-warrant 2 versus the embattled giant TV networks? And I'm gonna tell you one more thing about ABS-CBN and why I'm so pissed off about ABS-CBN. And like I said, I may disagree with ABS-CBN. It may be a fake news entity. It may have corrupted the minds of the youth when it comes to its programming, PC programming, etc. But I defend its right to continue its franchise. All right, even though ABS-CBN is the epitome of protectionism in this country. So remember, uh, outsiders or foreign companies or competitors are not allowed 100% to compete with our traditional TV networks. And our traditional TV networks, and not just TV but media, including the press. Okay, the TV and the press. In terms of the press, the Inquirer, the Manila Times, the Philippine Star, these are representation of our oligarch system. All right. But even though I'm against all this, I fight to death the right to operate, because it's better that way than to have, a system, a fascist system in which the government can simply pick the players in certain industries, especially in the media industry, and exclude whoever they would like to exclude, just because those entities don't really uh, toe the line, don't want to support the administration or whoever is in power. So uh, this article that I'm showing you was published or posted on Feb 9 and updated on February 19. And I'm gonna tell you what the hell is in Jose Calida's co-warrant to filing against ABS-CBN. Is tax evasion included? And I'm gonna tell you right now, no, it's not included. So the DDS morons are trying to gin up this issue, trying to raise this issue of tax evasion against ABS-CBN. They're simply stupid to do so. And I really admire, the tenacity, the composure, the calmness of the tax experts in the Philippines, trying to clear this issue, trying to answer the fake news, disinformation, and misleading information being propagated by the likes of Willie Ramasola and Edwin Jamora and other DDS people or creatures that we have in this country. So let me just show you. Solicitor, I'm just going to read the lead story of this article. Solicitor General Jose Calida will once again try his co-warrant to lock as he tries to revoke ABS-CBN's franchise through the Supreme Court, filing a 63-page petition before the High Court on Monday. So there are simply two issues in which Kalida raised in his 63-page petition, one of which is the ABS-CBN's violation of its franchise by allegedly offering paid broadcasts without government approval. And the other one is a PDR, the issue of PDRs or Philippine Depository Receipts. And co-warrant to proceeding is rarely used by the government in attacking some entities or public offices or politicians. So in fact, it was used against ousted Supreme Court Justice Serrano by claiming that Serrano did not sufficiently file her statements of assets and liabilities. So, therefore, um, Supreme Court ousted by a vote of majority Serrano for failing to secure the requirements, of her office. Now, a co-warrant to proceeding is like uh, it questions the warrant or authority that you have in holding office, and it can also be filed against corporations like ABS-CBN. So, for example, under Section 1, Rule 66, Section 1C, Rule 66 of the Rules of Court says a co-warrant to petition can be filed against an association which acts as a corporation within the Philippines without being legally incorporated or without lawful authority to act. So it tries to question as to whether from the very beginning you have the authority to be in that office or to operate, just in the case of Serrano and ABS-CBN. So according to the Supreme Court, the question as to whether the ABS-CBN or the network violated its franchise contract or violated the issue of the issuance of PDRs to foreign entities is something that should be tried by the lower court, because Supreme Court is not a trier of facts. So if the determination of facts is involved, then the Supreme Court is not the proper venue for that. It should be tackled by the lower courts. In this case, the Solgen should have filed its case with the NTC. So, as it is reiterated in this story, time and time again, the Supreme Court has reiterated that it's not a trier of facts, dismissing big cases on grounds that it violated the hierarchy of courts. That is how justice is done in the Philippines. That's how we do it. And you know this is logical because you're asking the Supreme Court to try a case from the very beginning. So there are hierarchy of courts in this country. So if you're filing a case against ABS-CBN for violation of our tax laws, for example, then go file your case with the proper lower court, not directly to the ABS-CBN, not directly to the Supreme Court. So we have hierarchy in this country. So just because you are Solgen doesn't mean that your case against CBNs, which involves the determination of basic facts, doesn't mean you have the authority to directly file your case with the Supreme Court and then disregarding the hierarchy that we have in this country. So that's how simple it is. So no, tax evasion is not part of the issue here, and it's so unfortunate that a lot of people were like believing all these lies and propaganda and conspiracy theories coming from DDS. So let's get to the issue. This is a Willie Ramasola that I'm talking about. Willie Ramasola was like spreading a lot of disinformation on Facebook, claiming, that ABS-CBN um, violated our tax laws and has been using tax credits as a way to avoid tax payments. And if you're gonna get into this back and forth conversation between Wheeler Ramaswamy and the tax experts in this country, you're gonna learn that Wheeler Ramaswamy is just an ignoramus who doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what tax credit means, and even if, let's just say, ABS-CBN violated our tax law or is guilty of tax evasion, you know the government did not file that. The government is not alleging that. They're simply using this argument in the court of public opinion, because there is a lot of DDS who don't know anything about tax law. And I studied law. I studied tax, our tax code. It's really, it's really complicated. You know, when I was in law school, I had this classmate who was really, she was really good during the recitation, because if you're at law school, during the recitation, you're gonna stand up and answer your professor's questions. You're gonna be subject to questioning, like before a judge in a real court for like 30 minutes. And my classmate was like, she's so good, she knew what she's talking about, she knew the case that we were discussing that day, and the relevancy or the relevance of that case with our tax law. And she's my seatmate. And how do you know all those? I mean, to me, she was like, studying code for too long, and she told me, I'm a professor of taxation in one of the universities in Manila. So wow, okay, good for you then. So it's really hard to study. Even in my case, I was like reading the rebuttals to Mr. Willie Ramasola, DDS minion, who's probably trying to expand his resume. And I said, "Oh, this is a really good conversation. Um, nakakadugo ng ilong. It's nosebleed, nosebleeding. It's gonna cause nosebleeding, really." So, as I said here, this guy, William Masala, recanted his position and tried to issue clarification, saying that he isn't accusing ABS-CBN of anything illegal. How stupid can you be? He doesn't have any remorse at all, because he knows that his followers, the DDS followers, don't have any brain at all to process to process all this, complicated stuff. It's very simple. Uh, is tax evasion part of the co-warranto? But we're done with the co-warranto, by the way. It's already set aside by the Supreme Court. Um, Jose Galides should, try another way to do it. He doesn't have any luck at all with his co-warrant to filing versus ABS-CBN. So we're done with that. So this is moot and academic, as they say. Moot and academic doesn't have any bearing at law, and we should not be wasting so much time talking about this. But of course, this is something that we should take into account, considering that a lot of DDS were like spreading propaganda like maniacs, trying to fool the people. But who are they trying to fool? They're simply trying to fool, their own followers who don't know anything about, about this issue. This is something really that's so hard to understand. So, if just in case the government is going to file, tax evasion case against ABS-CBN. That's the only time that we're gonna talk about this uh, convoluted issue of taxation. So Mr. Ramasola issued, a clarification saying, ABS-CBN is not actually in violation of any of our tax laws. But one thing that we need to tackle, there is, something like a drama between Cayetano. I didn't know that Cayetano is actually the Speaker of the House in this country. Where have I been? Over the past years, I was so focused on the issue of on politics in the United States. I know a lot of I'm so well versed. I tell you, I'm so well versed when it comes to politics in the United States. The Speaker of the House in the United States is Nancy Pelosi. She's from California, and etc. The case of the uh, Lieutenant General Flynn just recently resolved by the DOJ, and they dropped the case against him because Obama is was proved to have uh, orchestrated all this against the general. And the judge, trying the case filed by Robert Mueller, Judge Sullivan, is about to drop the case as well. So I'm a bit more well versed when it comes to American politics. So I was kind of surprised. I didn't know Cayetano is actually the House Speaker in this country. I thought it was still Gloria. Gloria, had this mutiny in the lower house just a few years back. I think last year or two. Um, she took the leadership from a DDS in the Visayan region. So uh, I just learned recently through because of this case that Cayetano was like kicked under the bus by the NTC because NTC was like pinning the blame on Congress for not doing anything to renew the franchise of ABS-CBN. It's like a drama, and a lot of DDS were like mad at Cayetano for trying to hit NTC for not doing anything as well. So they're like passing the buck against each other. So, for example, lawyer Larry Gadon threatens to file a graft case versus NTC, NTC's Gamaliel Cordoba, Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, and others if the NTC grants provisional authority. It's like a convoluted, battle already. So there are breakaway groups within the DDS camp fighting against each other. But I'm really skeptical about this. They're trying to simply fool the people, trying to take the blame away from the president who was calling for the non-renewal or the shutdown of ABS even over the past years since his election. So for this one, for example, is like attorney Larry Gadon trying to file or wanting to file graft case against Cayetano and NTC, while Cayetano, there's this DDS named Arnold Gambua he's bashing Cayetano for for attacking NTC's non-issuance of provisional authority. So and there's also this woman, a government employee, hoping. I think this is the Comelec commission on election official, saying, "I hope Speaker Cayetano shows NTC who's the boss." So Cayetano is the third in rank in terms of our political hierarchy. So if President Duterte is going to pass away, I'm not hoping for that. I'm not a Duterte supporter. I'm a critic of Duterte, but I'm not that brain dead to even root for the death of the president. So Robredo is next in line. President Lena Robredo is next in line. And if, for example, they're gonna oust, Robredo, impeach her. Cayetano is third in line. So I am really skeptical about this drama between Cayetano versus the NTC and some DDS versus NTC and Cayetano. So but one thing is for sure, we have a president in this country who was threatening ABS-CBN for a long time, for the past 3 years since his election. And we have Philippine Star compiling all these articles, or the pronouncements by Duterte over the past years. So, for example, context. Last Feb 2020, the head of BIR's Large Taxpayers Audit Division 3 Simplicio Cabantac Jr. said in his Senate hearing that as far as ABS-CBN is concerned, they are regularly filing and paying their taxes for the past number of years. So the government has no case against ABS even when it comes to tax evasion. That's already a closed case. It's a dead on arrival at any court of law in this country, even before the Supreme Court. Should Solgen amend his petition versus ABS-CBN? So context. In a Feb 19, 2020 report, Arnold Gabala, Deputy Commissioner at BIR, said that ABS-CBN does not have any pending case. Contrast that with POGO, Philippine Offshore Gaming Operation, and according to our government entities, the BIR and other experts in this country, that POGO is a violator of our tax law. And how's that? And the government is trying to justify its existence and resumption of operations because, according to Haruroke, the sociopath, spokesperson of Duterte, Pogo is a BPO, and its existence in this country is relevant because it can help pay for our PPEs and our health, expenditures during the pandemic. How's that? And ABS-CBN that's been regularly paying its taxes according to the BIR is in violation of its franchise, according to DDS in this country who know nothing about how our tax law operates or works. Now, on Feb 24, 2020, so this was like 2 months ago, ABS-CBN responded to Soljan Kalida saying we reiterate that everything we do is in accordance with the law. We did not violate the law. This case appears to be an attempt to deprive Filipinos of the services of ABS-CBN. So let's get to Duterte's rants and malevolent and nasty rants and speeches over the past years. In August 2018, Duterte said if he had his way, he would not renew the franchise of ABS-CBN. And the confluence of events over the past 2 months, the filing of Soljan Jose Calida of a petition versus ABS-CBN, co-run to petition versus ABS-CBN before the Supreme Court, the non-renewal of contract by Congress, the termination by NTC of its operations or franchise just recently. These are all indication that they're acting to pursue the promise or the vindictive promise of Duterte. We have a vindictive president, the revenge of President Duterte. So if I had my way, I won't renew ABS-CBN franchise. And his minions in the NTC, Jose Calida, the Congress are trying to fulfill that revenge by Duterte. Context: in May 2017, Duterte said he would file charges of multiple syndicated staffa against ABS-CBN for allegedly failing to run his political advertisements during the 2016 election, even after he paid 2.8 million peso. So, context: in Duterte's second SONA on July 24, 2017, he cursed and spewed expletives at media organizations that have been critical of his policies and statements. So we have, an onion-skinned president who cannot bear criticisms. Context: in August 2017, Duterte vowed to go after several companies, including Lopez's own firm, and I must add, Rappler, because of alleged tax and debt issues. They refused to pay the right taxes, they refused to settle their debts. I hope Duterte is going to do the same thing to Pogo, you know, because Pogo is known for not paying taxes. Now, there's this story that just came up like a few hours ago, yesterday. Davao-based businessman Dennis Oy, a campaign donor to President Duterte's presidential campaign in 2016, said his company, Odena Corporation, has no intention to acquire ABS-CBN. So I remember President Duterte even said that just sell your company. He said, because I'm not going to renew your franchise. So here's a statement from this guy. I don't. Why the hell is he even saying this? Because if there's a smoke, there's fire, as I say. So statement from Dennis Aoy, chairman and CEO of Adena Corporation. Let me be clear once and for all, and say that it should be at Odena Corporation have no intention to acquire ABS-CBN. Being in the business of broadcasting is not part of our corporate direction. All right, so that's the news that we have today. Forget about all of these conspiracy theories being propagated by the 30 minions. ABS-CBN is not in violation of our tax laws according to the BIR, and the government has no case against ABS-CBN if it's gonna pursue that case. And a lot of DDS have been spreading a lot of fake news. I thought, that's being penalized by our Bayanihan Act. So that's what I have for today. It's been too long, a rant that we have for today. If you like this video or live rant, please like, comment, and subscribe. And this is again Asian Uncensored vlog. Have a good one to all of you.